Close it, close it, close it. Okay, we're just going to start while the rest of them just come according to the time. Some of them will get lazy now because of the rain, right? أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما تحب وترضى ونصلي عليه. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Can you all hear me? Okay. We're already on the discussion of the philosophy of the creation of Adam ala nabiyyina wa alayhi salatu wassalam. And as you may have already gathered by now, that it's just not a simple, narration from the Holy Quran, but there's a great deal of intricate detail, right, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned in the Holy Quran, which would normally gloss over, and we don't realize and we don't appreciate the impact of every single ayah, right, with regards to Adam alayhi salam that is mentioned in the Holy Quran. Just to give you a recap again, right, the first story deals fundamentally with Adam alayhi salam as a human archetype, and particularly in terms of Adam alayhi salam as the first human being and as a Nabiullah, and his position and status as Khalifatullah fil ard, or the vicegerent of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on earth. This was bestowed to Adam alayhi salatu wasalam, and he became the teacher of all the malaika, which is part and parcel of his designation as a Nabi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and as a Prophet of Allah. And this deals on a fundamental level exclusively with him. You and I are not teachers of malaika, right? But it is an indication, right, through our father, the father of all humanity, Adam alayhi salam, that the human being has this degree of capacity in terms of the amount of knowledge he can acquire and the knowledge and the ilm that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants him. Right? Moreover, we went to the second aspect of it, which is in Surah Al-A'raf last week, and here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala switches the story away fundamentally from Adam alayhi salatu wasalam, and then brings in the rest of the human species when Allah says, وَلَقَدْ خَلَقَنَاكُمْ ثُمَّ صَوَّرْنَاكُمْ. Like we created Adam alayhi salatu wasalam, who is the first human archetype, right? We have, as his progeny, also created you in a similar manner. Right? When I get to the story, the history of Adam alayhi salam, you'll understand where I'm talking about in terms of his size and so on. The hadith, when Bukhari says that he was 60 cubits tall. Right? So obviously he's not the average human being in terms of size and the way you are and so on. And obviously he's been created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the realm which is alimul ghayb, or the hidden worlds, or the hidden realms, where malaika normally live, and he was created in paradise. Okay, whereas other human beings were created on planet Earth. Right? Human history, besides Adam and Habibia Hawa, commences on planet Earth. It does not commence in paradise at all. Our human history, so to speak, ends in paradise, or ends at paradise, or not ends in paradise, but this is where we are. So the Quran then tells you that, O human being, as being the progeny of Adam alayhi salam, your creation itself is also similar to the process of Adam alayhi salam in terms of the fundamental or the critical material or the matter with which you were created, which is خَلَقَهُ مِنْ تُرَابٍ. You have been created from dust. You have not been created خَلَقَ الْإِنسَانَ مِنْ طِينٍ, or from clay, as you would call it. I explained that to you just now. Right? And Iblis objected to the fundamental element in the creation of Adam alayhi salam, and regarded himself as superior by virtue of the material with which both species were created. And I refuted that from a logical perspective in terms of what the Mufassirun have stated in terms of the superiority of the element of earth over the element of fire last week. So that's covered. But what was important was, in the second story, it focused on the human being. And here it was made very clear that Iblis would exploit the shortcomings in man. Malaika, the angels, mentioned and observed that man has a propensity to violence and corruption. Right? يُفْسِدُ فِيهَا وَكَانَتْ وَيَسْفِكُ الدِّمَاء, and he can also go to the point of spilling blood and taking somebody's life. They knew man's shortcomings. But Iblis is the one who actually said to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I swear by Allah that I am making it my mission to lead man astray. Right? So whilst the malaika have been appointed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala now to be of service to us, or to be of benefit to us, or to help us in one form or the other, and have created an alliance between human beings and the angels, the species of shayateen from amongst the jinn. You saw what I said? The species of shayateen amongst the jinn, led by Iblis himself, are fundamentally hell-bent, forgive the pun, hell-bent on leading man astray. And again, Iblis made it very clear that I'm going to exploit man's shortcomings. So he said, ثُمَّ لَآتِيَنَّهُمْ مِنْ بَيْنِ أَيْدِيهِمْ وَمِنْ خَلْفِهِمْ وَعَنْ أَيْمَانِهِمْ وَعَنْ شَمَائِلِهِمْ. But he said, I'm going to attack man from all directions. I'm not going to give him a chance. Right? And I'm not going to relent. I'm not going to relent. I'm not going to give up. And then the Quran says that one of the things that Iblis has is the access to Adam alayhi salam to be able to influence him in one way or the other. And the Quran uses the example of the human archetype, Adam alayhi salam and Habibia Hawa, just to indicate to us that understand that in the human archetype who is a Nabi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and who is the vicegerent of Allah, who himself was a teacher to angels, right? Also because of his nature, man's nature, right? That he doesn't believe that somebody is out there to deceive, especially if someone takes a qasam and says, no, I have any good intentions for you, and I'm one of those people who, why is this? I'm actually having to scream. Am I right? Just if they adjust the volume, the rain can't be that. Right? So Iblis said, no, I'm one of your well-wishers. So the human being has a tendency. We are predisposed, right, towards seeking the good in anybody. That's our predisposition. It's just all the knocks in life which make us learn the hard way that everybody out there doesn't have your best interest at heart. And understand that human beings themselves can morph emotionally or psychologically, right, because of a dire lack of spirituality into shayateen, into devils themselves. Meaning, they will still be human beings in terms of their form or whatever it is there, but in terms of their character, in terms of their personalities, in terms of their outlook, and in terms of the way they deal with other human beings. I'm sure you've noticed people, right, who, when you see their pattern of behavior, consistently these people only seek harm in others. They don't look for good in anything. Right? If they're there, you can call them, what they call, Indians call them parapundits. Right? Anywhere they go, you will see them causing the problem. Right? Or if they are not causing a problem in terms of creating acrimony, Quran says, if you're not creating enmity and acrimony between people, then they are the ones that are always in one form or the other coaxing people to incline towards evil. I hope you haven't met people like this, but in a group of say 5 or 6 people, like you have a group of friends or you have a clique or whatever it is, you'll have one guy out there, right, consistently will be the one who will be always pushing towards doing the wrong things. It will either start off with a dare, or not even with a dare. That person will be always the one who will be making jokes, right, or speaking ill about somebody, or mocking someone, or insulting someone, or speaking in a negative way about people, so that you start engaging in that. That's one way. Second way would be that in terms of actions, he or she will be the one that will also always be taking the step which is the part that is more conflict ridden. Right? And they will create, like if they know that you have a problem with X and Y, they are the ones who will come out there and they whisper to this one, to one friend, negatively about that one, and go to that one and whisper negatively about this one, and they create discord and disunity and harmony. And you will see these people that their actions are generally evil. When you find people like this, and let me tell you, right, they are hidden in plain sight. And many of us, because we are predisposed towards looking for the good in people, you won't even realize that the time that this person spends in your company or you spend in their company, you will notice some of the things that you notice. If this person is making riba, speaking ill behind somebody's back, even though it is true, and they're doing that pretty regularly, they're talking about everybody. You know, your alarm bells must go on, number one. Right? Number two is that if you see this person having a tendency towards mocking people, insulting people, right, and telling you things to do that you would normally, shy away from, either it's through a day or it is through like they'll tell you something now and then they'll pull back. No. But they'll try again, and they'll try again, and they'll try again until you are convinced about it. Right? And when you are in the company of people like this one here, run. Many of us, because of our ties with them, or we just can't, extricate ourselves from the situation there, would rather remain in that toxic company, and you only realize how toxic it has been, right, when to a certain degree it has harmed you or affected the relationships around you. And the easiest one is, when you see a person literally telling you things, I'm telling you for your own concern. I'm telling you this for your own good. You know what? This is what so-and-so said. This is what that so-and-so said. You know what, Adi? Do you see how she treated you? You see, the moment you hear things like that, Baba, put that phone down. Or cut that conversation. And 95% of us just can't do it. Right? So Iblis said, I'm going to attract man from all levels. Right? Now, that was fundamentally the story of Surah Al-A'raf. Now we're going to go to Surah Al-Hijr, right? Or let me see if I can find the thing for you before you guys get confused here, right? Surah Hijr. Let me give you the verse and then you can start reading. Sakina, anybody got the Quran open there? Adila? Got it? Okay, it should be about verse number 20 or so. Yeah, okay. Start off from verse 26. No. Surah Hijr. Yeah. That is Surah number 15. Got it? Who's got it? Who's reading? Okay, Bismillah. Anybody? That's the one. Walaqad, indeed we created man from? Okay, I don't like that. I'll tell you why. Right? We created man from a ringing clay. Ringing clay. You read it from an app? Yeah, okay. You see, you're getting so many translations now. This is where the difficulty comes in. Because the terms used in it, and this is very interesting, right? This is now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is speaking, and this is where the story now goes to the third level. All this while, we spoke on the spirituality of Adam alayhi salam, the intellectual capacity of the children of Adam, in particular to Adam alayhi salam. Then we looked at some of the shortcomings, right? In terms of on a psychological level. And remember, why I said psychological level here was Iblis had this impression, had this idea that he's superior. Right? And superiority complex is fundamentally a psychological issue. And he looked at the inferiority of Adam alayhi salam based on external factors. Now, when we see how we interact with our fellow human beings, we fundamentally look at superficial things in people, right? And declare our superiority to others based on superficiality. Therefore, we have the notions of race. Right? Or you black, you white, you brown, you this, you that. Or you belong to a different socio-economic standing or socio-economic class. Or you have certain shortcomings in you. You may not be as intelligent. I mean, someone could say that the Germans, in terms of, consistently seem to be far more intelligent and use more of their brains than possibly the Portuguese do. Right? Or the Swiss, or the Chinese, or the Indians, or whatever it is. So people find that they are superior to others with regards to the amount of the intelligence that they possess. And there are so many other reasons and factors why, and superficial issues, why people believe that others are or they are superior to others. So in Surah Al-A'raf, we discuss the psychology of man, and this is where again, Iblis said that man is predisposed to evil as well. He has a tendency to either be good or to evil. And Iblis said, because of his weakness of mind, I can attack him from all fronts. Which shows that Iblis is engaging in a psychological warfare with man. That's fundamentally his attack. He's not coming out there and coming over. He's got a what they call walk on in his hand and he said, come, I'm going to donner you. He's not going to do that. He's going to engage in what we call psychological warfare. He's going to get into where? Into your head and into your heart. الَّذِي يُوَسْوِسُ فِي صُدُورِ النَّاسِ. So what is he going to affect? He's going to affect your mental and your emotional states. So he's going to attack you there. Right? And what happens? I mean, you can think of all the examples. Once you get a waswasa in your head, right? A whispering in your head, and if you realize that it starts off here or something there, it's an emotional thing, you respond to it, then you start thinking about it, and then you want to do something about it there, and you become preoccupied with the thought, then you have obsessive compulsive thoughts, right? Then you start having evil thoughts one after the other, right? And if you're overwhelmed by those evil thoughts, right, you end up with schizophrenia, you may end up with bipolar disorder. I'm not saying these are all whisperings of shayateen only. Can't blame everything on shaitan either. Get it? Like the devil made me do it. The late Hansi. The devil only made him do it until he was caught. Because no person feels remorse until he or she is caught. Right? Everybody after that, you saw Dick Lack, he retracted the statement. Everybody else says the same thing. Oh, I'm sorry. But you only said I'm sorry because someone caught you. Right? Or called you out. Other than that, if you are not caught or called out for something, then you'll perpetuate the deed. And what you're going to do? You are not feeling bad. That's why I said, you are not feeling bad all this time. The only time you start feeling, I'm feeling so bad about it, I'm so embarrassed. But plus, you're not feeling embarrassed about the deed. You're feeling embarrassed about the fact that you got caught. And everybody knows. That's all. That's why you're making tawbah. You're making tawbah so you must get back into people's good books. Because had you been influenced by shaitan and you didn't, allow it, right? You'd have been praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala much earlier than that. And you'd have stopped it without people knowing in the first place. But Allah in His infinite mercy sometimes makes you get caught. Right? So He can save you from further guna because you don't have any self-control. But and furthermore, I'm not taking that very humble Iblis's part here, but hold on. No Iblis so far that I have heard of, no shaitan I have heard of so far has taken a gun and put it to your head here and said, do this deed or else. Nobody. No Iblis has done that yet. He's not going to tell you, what, if you don't do this one here, I'm going to come out there and scare the jibbizes out of you. I'll show you my asal form there, and when you see that there, you never ever disobey me again. You heard that any time before? Anybody seen Satan in his real form here? Scare the no, not yet. Men, I don't want you to say when you wake up in the morning sometimes. The Pakistani joke, they said, the FaceTime on Apple, Apple thing there? I said they've had two now. One with makeup, one without makeup, especially in Pakistan, if you know the history there. Anyway, nobody has done that. But let me tell you, your nafs, your own ego, will continue to push and continue to push and continue to push until it gets what it desires. Inna nafsa la ammara, it commands. Iblis, he just whispers. And let me tell you something. Everybody in the ad business operates on Iblis's principles. No, it's a 30-second ad. Normally it becomes a nauseating ad, right? But eventually, you're humming the tune. Eventually, you memorize the words. Eventually, when you walk into a supermarket, your eye falls on the stuff. And how did they do it? They use the same principle. Slinkering whisperer. 30-second ad at so many minute intervals over a certain period of time, and eventually, it gets into your, on a subliminal level, it attracts you. It attracts you. Right? And this is all the time. Right? And you see this, whether it's on television, social media, and whatever it is, that if they continue, right,
putting a message across slowly, but surely you become numb to the evil in it. And it actually seems normal to you. Right? So, what I'm saying is that as much as Iblis is to blame, he said, look here, I'm just going to, right, take advantage of the human frailties on a psychological level, covering both mental and emotional level, and I lead him astray. And the rest of it he does himself. He does himself. That's all he said. And he said his biggest test was with Adam alayhi salam and Sayyidah Hawa. And again, what did he do? He didn't come from the path of evil. And this is what you need to understand. Iblis generally will direct you towards an evil that is always cloaked in some good. It's almost ambiguous, so that you make up your mind. Almost ambiguous. So it's like 60% evil, right? And 40% good, right? And what he will do is that he'll push you towards the 60%. And eventually when you get there, you take the leap of lack of faith, right? And that's all he does. And then on the day of Qiyamah, he's going to stand and say, Ya Allah, oh, hold on a minute. Yes, I did lead them towards the wrong path. But I didn't instruct them to do the wrong. That was the decision they made. That's the decision they made. All that I did was I was being suggestive. That's all I did. And that is where we fail. And remember one thing, it's just not one that is after you. Eventually, a whole lot of the shayateen come around you. Call it peer pressure. I'm not saying that they're all shayateen, but the evil in them manifests, right? And you notice, do you know, children are affected and think, and what they think and what they subscribe to are more influenced by peer pressure than their own parents. And ask yourself, all of you have grown up at one point or the other, right? Some of the wrong that you have done, or most of the wrong you have done, how have you done it? Because your mother told you to do so. Your father told you to do so. Your uncle told you to do so. Your family members told you to do so. Your peers. You notice at one point or the other, right, that if you've done anything wrong, it's been with a group of friends. I'm not saying that they were evil, no. But go ahead and do your own personal assessment. Without you personally perpetuating your own personal evil, if you look at your life, and if you look at everything that you could have done which was possibly wrong, or something out of the ordinary, right, you'll notice that it was done through peer pressure in one form or the other. You could have been yourself an instigator amongst your friends, right? Or you could have been a victim that this needed to be on. Not a victim, but you could have been one of those people out there who was not the alpha, and you know what, you just had to play along there, and you just did it. And eventually, the first time you did it, you must have hated it. But the second time, it was like became easier for the evil. And the third time, and the fourth time, and the fifth time, like it was, it's inconsequential. So the second aspect is the psychological aspect of man. Let's start with the recitation now. And we have created man from ringing clay. وَلَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ مِنْ صَلْصَالٍ مِنْ حَمَإٍ مَسْنُونٍ. Give me a favor. Go downstairs. In my room there is a kitab. Really thick kitab. Just bring that to please, man. Right? Quran speaks about the creation of the fundamental, or the, what do we call it? Not a creation, but the metamorphosis. Let's use the word metamorphosis of the essential element, what we call turab, dust, right, into the final material. I need your help here, right? You in the textile business, right? So you get the raw material, right? Now, how many processes do you go through until you reach your final fabric? Right? So the raw material may just be cotton, or may just be nylon. Right? But it goes through so many processes in order for you to actually make the fabric itself. Give me some of them. I just want to use it as an example while you're waiting for them to come. Starting from the very beginning, raw material. Now what's the raw material? Cotton, nylon?
We use cotton, we use polycotton, polycrystal, we use a variety
of materials. Right? And then what happens when the raw material comes? Does it have any color in it? Does it is it in sheets, or how is it? I mean, please pay attention. You know what? It will make it easier for me to explain this, because this now is a Quranic term that are being utilized out here. Short of me being a potter, not Harry now, but you understand? Yeah.
It comes in yarn form.
In yarn.
It's like thread.
Like a thread. That's all. It's just thread.
It's one to comb. There's about 50,000 meters per comb.
Oish. Right.
Depending on the textile, how fine is the yarn.
Right.
The process is warping.
What's warping?
Warping is when you put the thread into the barrel.
Right.
Before weaving.
Right.
They have a warping machine where you warp it onto the drum. And from the drum you transfer it into a big barrel.
Right.
Say 2,000, 3,000 meters, depending on the order.
Right.
And what is warped up onto the barrel, it can transport it to the weaving machine. And the weaving machine, you put also the weaving machine, the design is set.
Right.
That's a warp. And then you get the weft to start the machine off with the weft.
Right.
To get a fabric, we have two structures. You have the warp and the weft.
Right.
So the weft is the weaving machine.
Right.
You set your design and you start weaving.
Right.
Once the cloth is broken, it goes for inspection.
Right.
Being graded, A grade, B grade. And then from the weaving it goes to the dye house. The dye house will wash the fabric, we dye the fabric, we heat set it, we bake the fabric before dyeing.
Bake the fabric?
We bake the fabric. You have to bake the correct temperature for dyeing. If you don't prepare the fabric properly, you may get a uneven dye. So certain fabrics like polyester, this goes under a certain temperature. Polyester also slightly lower temperature. And when you dye the fabric, you dye the polyester first, and you cool the machine, you wash it off, and then you do the cycle of the disco. The whole cycle takes about 6 hours. If you dye the polyester and the disco, and after that you wash the fabric off, you send it to the stamping machine where you dry the fabric, and then you heat set it. Bring it back and we apply the final process is the resin to the fabric. We give it a nice soft finish, depending what type of finish the customer requires. And once the fabric is finished, it will go to the final inspection where the fabric is graded, A grade or B grade. The SABS standard, if you follow the SABS standard, we allow one fold per 7 meters. In one roll, if you got more than 7, the 15-meter road, it's got more than 7 folds for the evening.
Sure. I hope you heard a bit of that.
It's very brief, I'm giving it.
Oh, thank you for that.
Actually, before dyeing, you got to get the color in the laboratory.
Yeah.
You got to establish the color.
And that's we are called Pantone color.
The Pantone, right? Yeah. Right.
One yarn, thin thread. In one cone, how many? 50,000 meters? 40 to 50,000 meters on a single cone. Right? Eventually, how many meters of fabric would that make? One cone.
One cone, then you got to put in 600 cones to get out about, I would say, about 8 to 10,000 meters.
Wait, hold on. 6,000 cones.
You got to put in 600 cones.
600 cones at what?
At 50,000.
At 50,000, that's how many then? 3 million.
About 3 million meters.
3 million meters to get how many meters of fabric out?
10,000 meters.
3 million meters of yarn to get about 10,000 meters of fabric out. Before that yarn turned into fabric, all of those things needed to be joined together. I'm using the warping process.
That's a warp process.
Right? Joined together in order to create a cohesive type of thing which we would even be able to call a fabric. That's before the color is applied, before anything is done, before it's heated, washed, this, that, or whatever it is. So that's the normal process of going from a raw material into a finished product which you and I call fabric. And this is not the expensive fancy fabric. This is normally polyviscose or polycotton or something.
Schoolwear.
This is just for schoolwear.
looking at home furnishing, then you can buy the yarn already dyed.
Yeah.
That's the process.
Right.
You don't have to go to the dye-off either. You will go to the dye-off for washing, and you will dry the fabric, you will de-thread it, and then you will apply the final finish to the fabric. Silicone finish or Teflon finish or whatever, the customer is buying.
Now, I hope you understood the process. Point I want to put across. Allah has put so much or so many processes in place with regards to the essential element or the raw material with which man has been constructed, that the Quran speaks about 7 stages. Speaks of 7 stages that turab went through. Dust, the element which we call earth, went through until it became the final product with which man has been constructed or created or fashioned. Okay? Write this down. Right? It goes through a fundamental chemical evolution. First one is turab. I'll give you the Quranic ayahs just now, right? Right? First one is turab, inorganic matter, dust, right? Which is the fundamental raw material. But you can't say that you and I have been created from this dust that you see around, balu, what you call it, or you call sand here. We haven't been created from that, right? Then the Quran takes you to the next level. From turab, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Mu'minun, هُوَ الَّذِي خَلَقَكُم مِّن تُرَابٍ. He has created you from turab, right? The basic raw material, like he said, yarn, right? That one yarn, one cone, 50,000 meters. But that's not what is being used to create you. So from the turab, inorganic matter, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, right? وَالَّذِي خَلَقَكُم مِّن تُرَابٍ خَلَقَ الْإِنسَانَ مِن تُرَابٍ. Repeatedly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has used the word that man has been created from dust, inorganic matter. So number one is turab. Thereafter, the Quran says that there is a mixture, and this is the second level of it then, which is water. Right? So when water is mixed with turab, with inorganic matter, normal sand or dust as you would call it, you get to stage 3, which is called teen. Right? So when the chemical reaction takes place between normal dust or sand, as we would call it, the earth, right, and you mix it a little bit of water, then it becomes clay, min teen. That's number 3, right? And they say, هُوَ الَّذِي خَلَقَكُم مِّن طِينٍ. Right? Then just before we get to it, let's go to the water. But Quran says, هُوَ الَّذِي خَلَقَ مِنَ الْمَاءِ بَشَرًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, He has created مِنَ الْمَاءِ بَشَرًا. He has created the bashar from water. Right? Read that verse, Arila, again that you read. And we have created man from sound ringing clay. Okay, that's fine. وَالَّذِي خَلَقَ مِنَ الْمَاءِ بَشَرًا. That's in Surah Al-Furqan, right? وَجَعَلَهُ نَسَبًا وَصِهْرًا. Allah says man, the human being, the bashar, has been created from water. I'll give you the chemical composition or the atomic structure of the human body. The human body is fundamentally about 65% oxygen. 65% oxygen, about 18% carbon dioxide, and about 10% or so hydrogen or whatever it is there. Okay, they look at me like incredulously, like, I'm putting these things out of my... No, I read it obviously. I'm sometimes trying to recall now what I read until I find it here. Right? But generally, I'm pretty certain about 65% oxygen, right? About 18% or so carbon dioxide, CO2, right? And hydrogen. These are fundamental. The rest of them are little smaller amounts or whatever it is. And Quran says that you have number 3, which is وَجَعَلْنَا مِنَ الْمَاءِ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ حَيٍّ. And we have created everything that exists in terms of physicality has been created, right, with an element in it which constitutes water. Meaning, any element that has been created in this universe and is physical in nature or material in nature must have in one form or the other, right, 2 things of hydrogen, 2 particles of hydrogen, and a single particle of oxygen. And even the hydrogen itself, now for those of you who know physics, I never did physics in my life, you have an atomic number, right, which shows to you the weight, don't laugh, right, which shows to you the weight of the amount of hydrogen in it. Am I right? I should have told you. I should listen to my father and become a doctor. Right? This all my serial killer tendencies will come out like become a surgeon. Right? Min teen. Right? The next one is teen, clay. Right? وَالَّذِي خَلَقَكُم مِّن teen. And when Iblis saw Adam alayhi salatu, he said, Ya Allah, خَلَقْتَهُ مِن نَارٍ وَخَلَقْتَهُ مِن teen. He's been created from, I've been created from fire, and he's been created from clay, right? And the scholars of Arabic language say at-turab wal-ma'u al-mukhallal, right? He says when dust or inorganic matter is mixed with water, it becomes clay, right? And then you have the fourth level of the creation of the raw material of man, which is called teenin lazib. Min teenin lazib. Quran said, I created man from teen. Inna khalaqnakum min teenin lazib. Surah As-Saffat. Allah says, right? He says, when the water and the dust is mixed, if that inorganic matter has the ability to absorb some of the water into it. You know, certain sand, right, like amgeni, if you put water into amgeni, what normally happens is that the water filters through. Am I right? Faisal? Oh, that's your department. Right? Water filters through. Right? If, on the other hand, you have this clay type of soil, what happens? The water doesn't filter through. The water actually is absorbed into the clay. Teenil lazib is wherein, right, the dust dominates and the water is absorbed in the clay. So which makes it what we would call absorbable clay or soluble clay. Right? Now, once it reaches a point of being teenil lazib, right, then it reaches the point when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is speaking about in this verse that we read just now, وَلَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ مِنْ صَلْصَالٍ مِنْ حَمَإٍ مَسْنُونٍ. And we have created man from old, physically and chemically altered mud, which when you look at it, is like sound. Hey, what time is it? Shucks. Okay, we got 5 minutes. We got 5 minutes. How are you giving attention? Oh, what time is it? Oh, shucks, yeah, the other day I made a mistake now. Right? From the ringing, sounding clay. So, when min salsalin min hama'in masun, hama, the word hama is actually some, you know when something is fired up. Now, for those people who know anything about, clay and pottery and whatever it is, right? You will know that they create the clay. Right? Once the clay is, clay is basically simple, right? There's water and the thing inside, and you fashion whatever it is there. Thereafter, they put it into an oven, right? And to extreme heat. And when it comes out from there, it is chemically altered, number one, and it becomes hard. And when it comes hard from there, it comes out black, fetid mud. Fetid mud, black. And it comes out with a smell. I don't know whether you've smelled clay on its own. It's got an odd smell. But the moment you apply heat to it, hama'in masnoon, right? Then all of a sudden, that clay, and if you've ever been to a pottery thing there, you'll get that stink of that, of that heat which is applied to it, right? And you get that smell and like a fetid, it's almost like a rotting type of smell which comes out initially. So the Quran says there, وَلَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ مِنْ صَلْصَالٍ مِنْ حَمَإٍ مَسْنُونٍ. It says man has been created from that type of thing there, when heat was applied to that clay. So what happens to the water? The water to a certain degree dries, but the water is not completely lost. What it did was that it helped to solidify the object. Okay? Then it's min salsalin min hama'in masnoon, right? That is stage number 5. Number 6 is salsalin kal fakhar. Once it comes out from, so to speak, from the kiln, as I would call it, right? When they got this and expose it to heavy heat, then it's salsalin kal fakhar. This is now dry and highly purified clay. And when it becomes dry and highly purified, you will notice that this one here is almost like orangish in color, right? And it almost has like a type of like a gleam in it, right? It's almost like, it's almost like polished, right? Doesn't have the smell anymore. It's far more delicate. The particles are very, very fine as well, right? Because of time, I'm going very quickly. I'll discuss it in detail as we come back from there. The last one means sulalatin min teen, extract of purified clay. So it goes from being dried and highly purified clay, and from that dried and highly purified clay, you take out an extract of purified clay. Now, I know a lady, her name is something with an A. She's now in Midlands, Meander. Ariston Dar. Ariston? Or something, huh? Astrodar. She's done a lot of, she's an expert in pottery. Right? In fact, I wanted to do something for our mosque at one stage, again, with this dry, purified extract of clay. This one here is literally translucent. It's hard, right? But if you look at her ceramics and whatever it is, there's quite a few others as well. But if you look at the ceramics, you can see through the clay. It's white in color. It's absolutely, I'm coming. Right, okay. So last stop, clay.